Hey friends, my name is Michael Gary. I'm with the Hoffmann Group. It's 1:28, so we'll get started in a minute. Thank you if you're already online with us, and give us maybe 2 or 3 minutes. We'll let a couple more people sign on, and then we'll get rolling here. Maybe a minute or so after 1:30. So again, thanks for your time, and we'll get going in just a second. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Michael Gary with the Hoffmann Group. First of all, thank you for spending some time with us today. I will try to be as brief and to the point as I can. I'll probably try to keep it to 25 minutes or so, and then we'll have a little bit of time for questions. So this is the eForm, kind of the second session of our eForm webinar. Our eForm is our system that you can create custom foams to store tools in for your facility. And so this is the second one. I'll hit it again. If you missed the first one, if you need help with steps that are kind of more basic than what we're going to cover today, we will provide a link in a video to the first webinar. And in addition to that, you can always reach out to us, and we will have a local sales representative come by and show you in person. So I'm going to get started. I'll recap a couple of things from the first webinar. Again, my name is Michael Gary. That's me in the corner. I've been with Hoffmann Group USA since 2016. We are Hoffmann Group globally is 100 years old as of this year. In the US, we've been here since 2016. So I'm from the beginning with us here in the US. I call myself a basic eForm user. I said that the first time. The reason I emphasize that is the system's meant to be user-friendly. You don't need extensive special training. It's meant to work for you. So a little bit about Hoffmann Group. We strive to be a consulting partner. This is part of that. The eForm system is part of that. We don't want to be a company that is an Amazon or just says, hey, here you can buy something. We want to help you make your facility the best that it can be, and sometimes that requires consulting. It requires custom things that we do well. So our portfolio, some of you all may know us only kind of in one of these areas. If you buy cutting tools, we could stand alone as cutting tools. We could stand alone as metrology, hand tools. We're the largest workstations and storage provider in Europe. We do well as an entire systems partner. So if you've never ventured into some of those other areas with us, then come on board. So eForm itself, if you're new to the system, it's rigid foam inlays. We mill them on a CNC machine. They're 100% accurate to your tools. Tools are easier to find. If you're missing tools, it's easy immediately to tell that you're missing one. You don't have to, the number of people that I know that have 5 15-millimeter wrenches because they couldn't find it and bought a new one, and then eventually they found them all. This eliminates that. It saves you money. On our website, which we'll walk through today a little bit, it's quick and easy to design them.
Hey everyone, this is Ashley, the marketing director here at Hoffmann Group. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties with our audio, so we're going to put everybody on a brief hold while we work that out, and we hope to be back here just within the next couple minutes. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. We had a technical difficulty where it had muted me, and I don't know why. But sometimes you get curveballs. You got to deal with them. So I'm going to move on. So moving into more what we're going to talk about today. When is it beneficial to scan a custom tool? So that's what we're going to talk about today. The system was really created if you're designing a storage system, whether it's a cart, standalone foams, whatever it is with Hoffmann tools, and you have a custom or a unique tool or tools to add to the foams, that's what it was designed for. Or I have a customer who has a total unique application. They have a cart that they roll around that has these die changeout pins. And they roll around and bang into each other and they can get damaged. And so the foams help to stabilize them in the cart. That would be a great example of another application for it. I guess what I'm really getting at, can I design foams for like all of the carts and cabinets in my facility with all of my own non-Hoffmann tools? The answer is yes. We will help you with that, but really, if you're making this kind of time and financial investment, it makes sense to make these foams, that you're upgrading your facility with higher quality Hoffmann Group tools that are going to last longer with them. So there's also quantity-based discounts for purchasing the same foam repeatedly. And so if you have custom carts you're designing for every one of your tools, you're going to be paying more, and you can save by really getting a single system that you're going to use and repeat throughout your facility. And let us help you with that, and let us work with you. Maybe there's a project advantage that we could provide that would help you get through that stage of moving foams and tools there. So we are willing to work with you. Okay, in the first webinar, we covered how to gain access to the eForm configurator, how to create a basic eForm, tips and tricks for creating the best layout possible, how to align things. I'm not going to recover all of that today. So if you need help, you can contact your local sales representative. If you're not sure who that is, there's a phone number here. We can connect you with that person. There's also an email here. It takes you to the same people. If you want to rewatch the first webinar video, it is on the website. There's a link to at the bottom. Also, we will post some videos and a couple of tutorials in addition to today's webinar on that same website. So that's a good website to jot down. Today, we're going to cover how to scan a non-Hoffmann tool into the eForm configurator. We'll cover everything you need to do or to have with you to get this done. There's options. You can scan multiple tools one at a time. We'll cover when to do that, how to set the depth of an item. I'll explain more about that in a minute. And how to adjust it. We'll walk through all of that. What do you need to accomplish getting a custom tool in? You need a camera. It can be a smartphone. The fastest way to do it is a smartphone with a QR scanner, and it can connect directly to the system. And it will upload the images that you take automatically. So we'll post a video on the website of kind of a tutorial for how to do that. It's too many technical kind of live or challenges to try to live video today, all of that. You need a Hoffmann green sheet. So you cannot just take a picture of any tool. We have a scaled sheet that I'll show you a picture of in a minute. A local representative could bring that by to you, or we could mail one to you. You need a computer. A mouse is preferable, and I'll show you why when we're walking through it. Obviously, you need the items that you want to add to your foam design. And then lastly, a measuring tape or a caliper, because the image will take a 2D image, but you will need to know the depth of your item so that you can set the depth of the milling pocket. So this is the green sheet that I'm looking at here. This is an example of me taking a picture of one. And I'm going to give you a few picture taking tips. Number one, the most important thing that I can stress to you is that lighting is very important. I will show you an example of kind of how that can get off due to shadows when we bring one in. But you want to basically find the best lighting that you can for imaging these items. And the flash helps me on my camera. The one challenge is if you've got a really reflective tool, it'll make it really hard for the sheet to pick that picture up. You want to be far enough away to include the entire picture. And I'll show you another screen in a second that explains that a little bit better. And finally, this is a scaled sheet. You can't copy it. You don't want to fold it. Creases and bends distort the image, which will ultimately distort the size of your milling pocket. So you want to keep, if we bring a sheet to you and you hang on to it, you're going to want to store it in a place where it's laying flat and not bend it. Okay, I promise I'll work through these PowerPoints fast. I'm almost done. But take note of these two boxes that I drew on the sheet. The outside one first, and these are more tips still on how to take the picture. This is as far as you can zoom in when you're taking the picture, this outside box. So the outside of each of these symbols right here, that's your limits for zooming in. You also want to keep outside items outside of this boundary. That would be like your feet or your shadow. On the inside box, this is the limit that tools must remain inside of when you're taking a picture. So if you have a larger tool, we have larger and longer sheets to accommodate, and they work just the same. They look the same. They're just shaped differently. Finally, this is what we're gonna work on today. This is the foam mold design. So, you know, if you got your custom Craftsman wrenches that you can't do without, or a custom meter, or just snack time, we will address all of those. I'm going to jump over to our configurator now. And so again, on the first webinar, I covered how to create a foam. If you need to go back to that webinar to learn how to do this, I bypassed that for the sake of time today so that I can get you all back to your normal jobs. So when you are in the configurator, we've got a blank foam. Even if you had Hoffmann tools in here right now, let's say we're at the point now that I want to put a custom tool into the configurator. Over here on the right side, if you have your like go-to webinar box and it's in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you may want to move it if it's blocking kind of where my mouse is right now. So I can show you which icon to select. The first thing you would do to initiate bringing a custom product in is to click on this camera icon. It brings up, if you hover over it, it says add custom product. So I'm going to click on that. Here are some just kind of do's and don'ts. Most of them are good. You can read through them if you would like. It kind of reviews the same things we're talking about here. So this is always you're clicking next through it. So these are the two options that you have. You can take a picture and you can upload it to your computer, and that would be option A, and then you're going to go grab that picture. It's a little bit more time consuming because you're transferring picture files. Option B is you're going to use that QR scanner that I talked about before, and you're going to upload pictures directly from taking a picture to the configurator. So I'm gonna attempt to do both just to show you what it looks like on the screen, but I'm not going to provide video. So for the first item, I'm going to click on here. I'm going to browse. So I've already taken pictures of the items we want to bring in. The first one I'll bring in is a pair of channel locks. So I've taken a picture. You can see I've got the entire green sheet in the image. I'm going to upload it, and then I'm going to hit next to upload this picture. So this is what it'll look like. You bring it in, it's gonna take away the limits of the outside of that box. That's why it doesn't matter if you're zoomed out past there. And each of these tools that I'm bringing in is gonna have kind of a thing or a reason that I picked that tool. So this one, you can see the tools come in and it's got a smart, there's an option on the configurator that's gonna attempt to trace your tool. This is why shading is so important. If I had a dark shade down here, it would try to jump and grab the shade. The thing to note on tools like this is if there is a really sharp bend on the inside of something like this, it's going to be very difficult for you to grab that tool in and out because it's going to be so tight. So I'm going to grab it like this. These tools right here, this plus and minus, that's how you manipulate the boundary of the pocket that you're going to be working with. And the way that you would do it, I clicked on the plus. I always get confused, so I may have selected the wrong one. I'm going to click once and hold the mouse down and drag where I want the new line to be. There we go. So that moved that line from following the contour up and into the middle of the pliers down here, and that's just going to basically make it so you don't bind right here. It's going to make it easier to get the tool in and out. So that's that for this one. The rest of that looks really good. So I'm going to click next at this point. This is where we bring it in. I would take care if you're doing an item that you're going to put in multiple foams. I would name it something that's searchable, because in the catalog on the left, and I'll show you in a second, this tool will always be searchable. Again, it's in your library forever from here. So the height of the object, that's always going to be the thickest point of the object. So these are 12 millimeters thick. I want to lay them, this is also, so the first one is always the thickest point. The second part right here is how deep do I want to bury this tool into the foam. The minimum depth that you can bury a tool is 5 millimeters. I'm going to choose 7. I think it looks good when there's a little bit of a 3D contour and part of the tool sticking up above the foam. So 7's good for this. There will be a little bit sticking up, but I'm still below my minimum depth. And that's it. So it's in. It works just the same as the other tools did. In the configurator from our first webinar, you can click, drag, rotate as you like. You can see right here where the milling pocket's down a little bit out of that inner neck of the jaws right there. So that tool's in, it's good to go. I'm going to do a couple more just to show you a couple different ways to bring stuff in. This time I'm going to do an example of a tool that has a shadow, and more than likely, so I'm clicking on this just how I did. Let's try it again. I think the reason that it did not recognize that last one was because I had copied that picture for a tutorial that I'm doing. So it was a copy, which goes to show that you cannot use a copy. So this is an example. You can see there's a dark shadow around the bottom, and it that will mess with this line. And it honestly, the best thing to do here is to retake the picture and to get the shadow out. It makes it really challenging. You can click and try to drag, but the lines that it is trying to pick up are so difficult that it's always going to miss a little bit. It's just really challenging for the system when you've got lines that are that solid right next to each other. So I'm going to import it anyways. That was just to show you the challenges of the lighting. So this is a meter. This one is also lying. The height of the object is about 1 inch, which is about 25 millimeters, and I'm going to sink it about halfway. And so you can see that wasn't an ideal pocket. I more or less was just putting that in for the purposes of doing it. All right, next, I'm going to show you how to bring multiple objects in at once. You probably noticed on the last couple, I could set the depth of that item. When I bring in multiple objects at once, the system is capable of doing that. The one really big constraint that I would tell you is you want to make sure that you want to sync all of these items the same depth. These items are about the same height, and I can do that. I wouldn't want to put a really tall and a really short item because you only get to pick one depth for one picture. So another thing is for really tall items, when you move them to the outside, you're going to be getting kind of a side picture. So you kind of want to limit it if you're doing multiples to wrenches or screwdrivers, items that are flat and can be captured more easily. Also, sometimes the system will pick up, so here it picked up the inside of this as well. Sometimes it's funky, but usually if I click and just drag the plus through it, it goes away. So that kind of shows now we've got a good picture with the images, the lines being on the outside of the item. This is where you get 1 milling depth. So I'm gonna sync both of these 7 millimeters, and I'm gonna say the highest is 12 with that bent neck on the wrench. And this is where I'm gonna rename that. And so now they're both in. It brings them in individually. You can click and drag them. It's not wanting to drag. There we go. And they all operate, all of these. It's really cool. There is not another system that I know. There are a couple systems out there that you can incorporate custom items into. None of them show the image of the tool like this. It's a really cool system. Let's bring in one more. I'm gonna show you how to do. I'm gonna show you how to bring a screwdriver in, and the reason for that is I'm gonna bring some steps in with it. And I'm also gonna do this one with my phone. I know you can't see me, but you'll at least get to see the prompts on the screen. So here I clicked on it. This is when you have your QR scanner, this box right here, that's what you're gonna scan. So I got my phone and my QR scanner open, and there will be a message right above that QR code that says a smartphone has been connected to the current session. And then the system kind of takes your phone over and it says, would you like to upload an image? I said yes. And I'm selecting an image. I already took it. It would be the same as taking it. And then I just hit upload. And now it informs me that it's uploading, saving the data. So it brings it in just the same. Whether you choose to use the phone's a little bit faster because I don't have to email the pictures to myself and save them. So now with the screwdriver, I'm going to put this in, and there's going to be one difference. So the thickest part of the screwdriver is the handle, but this time, since the blade of the screwdriver is it won't sit flat. If I just pick a uniform depth, instead of putting a depth of the pocket, I'm going to click on this steps right here. And it'll bring me to an option to define the steps. So this is, you're looking at like a top view of whatever you took an image of. And right here, steps are, you can basically make one part of the pocket underneath that tool deeper than the rest of the pocket so that you can set the screwdriver flat with the blade flat rather than it falling down into the pocket. So that's helpful with, there's some tools that are more challenging than just screwdrivers. I'm gonna keep the handle at 12.5 just because that's about half of the total depth. And then the blade, the difference right here, I've already measured it, is about 5 millimeters. So I'm gonna move this to 7. And now you can see this would be what the pocket would look like if you could see down in the pocket. The handle's gonna sit here deeper, and then the blade will set on this surface right here. And it's just a better looking product. You don't have to do this. I like to, just because if we're gonna go through the process, we might as well make it look good. So now I've defined my steps, and it's in. It won't look any different in this fate or in this view, whether you do the steps or not. And then the last item, and this one's really just to have fun. So I'm clicking through, it's not responding. There we go. Grab my Doritos because I got to have my snacks when I'm working. The foam that we picked is a 30 millimeter foam. Whatever the limit of your foam you set. So if you did 30, whether you did 45, the deepest that you can sink an item is 5 millimeters from the bottom. So if these chips are about 1.5 inches thick. That's thicker than the foam is. But I want to put them as deep as I can. And so, let's try it again. There we go. I'm going to go through everything else just like I had. The height of the object, I'm going to say is 50 millimeters. My limit on a 30 millimeter foam is 25 millimeters, and I want to sink these as deep as I can. So I'm going to select 25. I'm going to hit next, and there's our bag of Doritos. So snack time is not getting missed at work today. So yeah, that brings us to about 30 minutes. Y'all, I apologize for the kind of the technical difficulty that we had there. I felt like I rushed it a little bit. If I missed anything, please feel free to ask questions. Also reach out and we can have a representative come by. I wanted to make sure to hit all of those points. And so I'm going to bring up my chat thing, which is also going to block part of the screen. But now that I've got my chat open, if any of you all have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer them. And while I'm waiting, thank you all seriously for your time. I know that you all have a lot going on, and so thanks for spending 30 minutes with us. I hope you learned something. I hope this kind of spurs ideas in your mind of possibilities and capabilities that we have in our system that we can help you with. And if you have any questions, the way, just in case anybody's looking at the system and they're like, how would I do that? There's an arrow down next to the chat thing on the go to webinar pop-up, and you can click on that and then it'll open a chat box. Well, good deal. Hey, everybody, thank you for your time. I haven't seen any questions yet. Please feel free still to ask them. But just one final thank you and one final invite to know we would love to come by and show you personally how to do this. We'll even bring you food to eat while we show you. So thank you again for your time. We are available. We're local, and so we would love to help you kind of whatever this may have spurred as far as dreaming up new ideas for your facility and your tool storage. So thanks and have a wonderful day. I will hang out for a minute if anybody has a question.